Welcome to the day after Groundhog Day. This is Wednesday, the 3rd of February, 2021. We survived the wild weather yesterday. At 6 a.m. we had a raging blizzard underway, howling winds and slanting snow. By noon we had rain and even stronger winds with rumors of thunderstorms. And this morning I awoke to the sounds of foghorns in the harbor, and the ground once again nearly bare. Life in the Maritimes is anything but dull. The good news, Shubenacadie Sam, our local groundhog prognosticator, definitely did not see his shadow, unless it was cast by his own sun lamp in his burrow, which means, according to folklore, spring is right around the corner. Sadly, for those in the eastern United States, Puxatawney Phil did see his shadow in Puxatawney, Pennsylvania, so they get the bonus of 6 extra weeks of winter. The tradition of the groundhog as a predictor of spring was brought from Germany, where the badger was the forecasting animal. By the early settlers in Pennsylvania, the earliest reference to that tradition is recorded in a newspaper in 1866. It appears to be an enhanced version of the folklore that clear weather on the Christian festival of Candlemas, also February 2nd, is an indicator of a prolonged winter. Since the release of the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, Puxatawney Phil draws a crowd of 10 to 20,000 revelers each year. This year, however, both Sam and Phil, like most of us, had to rely on a virtual event. Today in history is sometimes referred to, at least popularized in Don McLean's 1972 hit song, American Pie, as the day the music died. On February 3rd, 1959, young rising music stars Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson, whose hit song Chantilly Lace had put him on the charts, were killed when their chartered plane crashed in Iowa a few moments after takeoff. Their tour bus had been sidelined with mechanical troubles, so they decided to charter a small plane to take them to their next performance. Waylon Jennings and 2 other band members decided to stay behind and wait for the bus, and so survived. Some announcements to share. First, on behalf of the Outreach Committee, they are collecting used eyeglasses. Perhaps you have some extras or have had a change in your prescription. They'll be passed along to the Canadian Institute for the Blind. Bring them along to the church and we'll have a collection box here for them. The Outreach Committee was able to pass along the children's boots that have been collected over the past several weeks. They went to Parker Street Furniture, Food, and Clothing Depot. Carmen Stone reports that they were ecstatic to receive them and deeply grateful. Kudos to the congregation. And a message from Chris Field, our Primates World Relief and Development Fund coordinator. He reports on their campaign called Voices of Hope. You can read and learn more of how your contributions through the Primates Fund is supporting agencies around the world during the challenges of this pandemic, like the Village Health Works Agency in Burundi. Learn more by visiting pwrdf.org. A reminder of our services in person, Sundays at 8:30 and 10 a.m. These are condensed Eucharist services of about 1 hour in length. This Sunday we will be marking Women's Ministry Sunday, and our guest preacher will be Debbie Feiss. Those wishing to attend can confirm a seat by using the Eventbrite service on our Cathedral website under the Information tab. If you have any difficulties with that program, do write or call the office, Cathedral Church at eastlink.ca. Also, we have services in person on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 a.m. and Fridays at noon. No reservations are required at this time for those services. We also offer a noon-hour meditation Wednesdays in the Great Hall. This Sunday, Evensong, as part of our Sundays at 4 series, will return online. Also online, we offer Sunday school via Zoom. We now have 2 separate sessions for both younger and older children, a time to connect, do some learning, share some stories, and some music. These programs take place on Saturdays at 4 o'clock If interested, please email the Cathedral office to be added to the contact list. Mondays at 6:30 in the evening, we also host a workshop on prayer, learning and doing various forms of prayer. And on Thursdays at 6:30, an online meditation. These utilize the Zoom format, so please send an email to prayasucan3@gmail.com. And finally, a new feature is morning prayer, now offered online Monday through Saturday. These services are posted as early as 5 a.m. in the morning, so anytime you can find a quiet moment, tune us in on YouTube or Facebook. For our song and poem today, I'm dedicating today's choices in memory of Captain Tom. I subscribe to the Washington Post, so let me read this news release written by Phil Davidson that was posted yesterday afternoon. He writes, in early April last year, few outside his friends and family had heard the name of Captain Tom Moore, a former British Army officer and World War II veteran approaching his 100th birthday. By the end of that month, the frail centenarian was described as a national treasure by Britons and made headlines around the world after he paced his 82-foot garden patio for days, pushing his walker to raise funds in support of Britain's state-supported National Health Service. Struggling under the weight of increasing coronavirus patients, they were pleased to have his support. His aim was to raise £1,000, that's about $1,300 US, for the National Health Service's charities by doing 100 laps of his garden in his Bedfordshire village, wearing his war medals over a blazer to mark his birthday on April 30th. As news reporters, photographers, and TV networks flocked to record his effort, he ended up raising 32 million pounds, that's about 45 million US dollars, and entered Guinness World Records for the largest amount raised in a charity walk by an individual. Then, at age 100, he became the oldest person to have a #1 hit single on the British pop charts, as he voiced the lyrics of the Roger and Hammerstein ballad, You'll Never Walk Alone. He formally became Captain Sir John Moore when Queen Elizabeth II, herself in isolation in Windsor Castle during the COVID lockdown, tapped his shoulders with a sword in July of 2020 to bestow upon him knighthood. At that time, it was the Queen's first face-to-face meeting with a member of the public. Captain John Moore, Sir Moore, died in a hospital near his home yesterday, 2 days after he was admitted for treatment of pneumonia and COVID symptoms, according to his daughter. His walk inspired countless others to emulate his fundraising efforts around the world. So for Tom, who showed us that anyone at any age, at any time, can make a difference, please check out his anthem, You'll Never Walk Alone. That song itself is from the 1945 Rodgers and Hammerstein musical Carousel. It was the second musical by the team of Rodgers and Hammerstein, which was an adaptation of a Hungarian author Franz Moland's play Lilium. Rodgers and Hammerstein simply relocated the setting from Budapest to coastal Maine, adding a musical score, and the rest is history. It opened on Broadway April 19, 1945, and was an immediate hit with both critics and audiences. In the second act of the musical, Nettie Fowler, the cousin of the protagonist Julie Jordan, sings the song You'll Never Walk Alone to comfort and encourage Julie as her husband Billy Bigelow, the male lead, falls on his knife and dies in a botched robbery attempt. Besides the recordings on the Carousel album film soundtrack, You'll Never Walk Alone has been recorded by such artists as Frank Sinatra, Roy Orbison, Billy Eckstine, Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, Jerry and the Pacemakers, Judy Garland, Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Andy Williams, Glenn Campbell, Johnny Maestro and the Brooklyn Bridge, Olivia Newton-John, Doris Day, and even Pink Floyd incorporated into their song Fearless. From 1964 to 2010, Jerry Lewis concluded his annual Jerry Lewis Labor Day Muscular Dystrophy Telethon by singing that song. It is also said to have been part of the inspiration for Queen's We Are the Champions and We Will Rock You. The song is sung at football clubs around the world where it is performed by massed choirs of supporters on match day. This tradition developed in the Liverpool Football Club after the success of the song by local Liverpool group Jerry and the Pacemakers. In some areas of the UK and Europe, the song has also become something of an anthem in support of medical staff, first responders, and those in quarantine during the COVID-19 pandemic. There is a story told that in 1990 at Nelson Mandela's International Tribute for a Free South Africa concert, the audience spontaneously broke into a mass rendition of the song, and Mandela turned to Adelaide Tambo, who accompanied him on the stage, and asked, "What is that song?" And she said, "A football song." The legendary composer and musician Irving Berlin told Richard Rodgers that "You'll Never Walk Alone" had the same sort of effect on him as hearing the 23rd Psalm. And when singer Mel Torme told Rodgers that "You'll Never Walk Alone" made him cry, Rodgers nodded and said, "You were supposed to." So today's song, our tribute to Captain Tom, "You'll Never Walk Alone." It's that notion of the presence of the unseen, the evoking of memory and emotion, that brought me to one of my favorite poets, a man by the name of René Karl Wilhelm Johann Joseph Maria Rilke. From his Wikipedia article, it notes he is widely recognized as one of the most lyrically intense German language poets. He wrote both verse and lyrical prose. Several critics have described Rilke's work as mystical. His writings include a novel, several publications of poetry, and several volumes of correspondence in which he invokes images that focus on the difficulty of communion with the ineffable. These themes position him as a transitional figure between traditional and modern writers. Rilke was born in 1875 in Prague, the son of Josef Rilke, a railway official, and his mother, Sophie Entz. One of the significant factors in Rilke's early life was that his mother called him Sophia. She forced him to wear girls' clothing until about the age of 5, as she was mourning the death of an earlier child, a daughter, who died just after a week. Rilke's parents separated when he was 9 years old, and his military-inclined father sent him off to the military academy at age 10. Rilke didn't do well there and was sent later to a business school where he would eventually work in his uncle's law firm. He continued studies at the University of Prague, Munich, and Berlin, traveled extensively throughout Europe, Russia, Spain, Germany, France, and Italy, and in his later years settled in Switzerland. That was the inspiration for most of his poetry. Although lauded for his contribution to German literature, more than 400 of his poems were originally written in French. So here's a poem of his titled "A Walk." My eyes already touch the sunny hill, going far beyond the road I have begun. So we are grasped by what we cannot grasp. It has an inner light even from a distance, and changes us, even if we do not reach it, into something else, which, hardly sensing it, we already are. A gesture waves us on, answering our own wave, but what we feel is the wind in our faces. A Walk by Rania Maria Rilke. And as a prayer, based on that quote of Irving Berlin that I mentioned earlier, and his connection with the 23rd Psalm as one that evoked deep emotion within him, it's perhaps not a bad way to end. In these challenging days, we need to be reminded that the path we walk has been walked by others, is being walked with others throughout time in history, and that assurance that we never walk alone. The 23rd Psalm is known in both Jewish and Christian literature and liturgy, and it is one of the Psalms attributed to King David, who himself was raised in a shepherding culture. It has been called the best known of the Psalms for its universal theme of trust and is one of the most recognized of all religious texts. It's also been set to several music tunes. So in ending, let us hear the words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. He revives my soul and guides me along right pathways for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table before me in the presence of those who trouble me. You have anointed my head with oil, and my cup is running over. Surely your goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Keep in touch, stay safe, and keep the faith until we meet again. Amen.